All right, guys. Welcome to the FPL Banter podcast. Back again with the usual faces. We've got Woody.
Hello.
And Swabbers.
Hey, how's it going?
So it's been a bit of an interesting week. We'll start off with a bit of gossip. Woody, what do you got?
Well, I suppose the main one is the Bale saga that continues. I mean, what's the latest you've heard?
Yeah, so I've heard he's supposed to be flying to London today, which is Friday, and doesn't really explain the quarantine. I don't understand how he's going to do his medical and so on. Do they get a special pass?
It's a good question. Maybe he has to sit out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, but wouldn't the transfer window close by then? So I was thinking maybe they would go to Madrid, do the medical there, and then get him back.
I don't know.
I think we're overthinking it, to be honest. But But how do we think, number one, how much do you think he's going to cost on an old FPL, and how well do you think he's actually going to do?
Well, and also, are we sure that United have given up? Because it doesn't look like they're going to get Sancho either.
I think they'd have.
Do they need Sancho? I mean, if you go into the FPL website, you see the amount of midfielders. There's actually 2 pages on the Manchester United team.
Yeah, but that's also because they changed Rashford to midfield as well, and they've changed probably some other ones that were probably forwards that are now midfield.
That's true. But where would Bale? I mean, Bale's a left midfielder, right, or attacking midfielder. So, is Son going to be fuming? Is that the situation we're going to be in now?
But I don't know, because he is a bit of a right side cutting in as well, isn't he? So he could be, maybe Lucas could be fuming.
I mean, yeah, Lucas's team.
We all know who's already fuming according to the old press. It's old Dele Alli.
Surprise!
Hold on. So has there been something in the press since our conversation earlier?
Well, the story is that they're going to give Real Dele for Bale.
Yeah,
but it doesn't sound like it's kind of like it's more like Dele's just gone down the pecking order now.
But I do think, as we were talking before we started recording, or just this morning when we were talking, Woody, you mentioned that you think there was a bit of a kerfuffle at half time.
Yeah, but it's like one of these things as well, like because I hadn't really picked up on the whole rumor that it might be a 2-way transfer. But that would explain it a little bit more, like why. So basically, I sort of have a little bit of a theory that because Ali came off at half time against Everton, and then the team looked rubbish after that, like they weren't too happy, and then the fact that Ali didn't travel this on Thursday for the Europa League fixture, just didn't go. I like that. There's obviously a bit of trouble in paradise there, but if he was maybe being considered for part of the transfer, then there's a lot of players like that. Like Martinez didn't go to Fulham. Tarkowski hasn't played in the cup because maybe there's rumours there. So that seems to be a thing when there's transfer rumour, guys just don't go.
Yeah,
so maybe that's it.
And I think as well, to be honest, I mean, I'd be happy if I was Dele, man, to go to Real Madrid right now. Why not?
He'll never play. Come on.
You don't think?
I mean, no. He won't get a position in that team, will he?
Well,
apparently Zidane rejected the chance to sign Dele Alli because of comments he made in 2017. So there's a bit of bad blood between Zizou and
Bamford. You know how that ends. Whenever there's bad blood with the manager. Also, putting it out there, but English players going to Spain doesn't usually work out.
Trippier to Atletico? That was a weird one. That is the
weird. He's playing well, though.
He's the first team. He's first team.
How many English players in the La Liga, right? There's Trippier and then Beckham, I suppose. That was one of the ones that did work out.
Yeah. But not many do. Owen, he didn't really work out.
But anyway. But how, let's just very quickly, so we can move on. How expensive do you think Bale will be? Do you think he's an 8.5, 9 mil?
Oh, he's a 10.5er.
Really?
You reckon? I don't know, because he's got the name, but he hasn't got the performance. I mean, I think that'd be a bit pricey. I think he'd probably be the same as Son.
Well, he's gonna cause a headache, that's for sure.
Yeah. Because then we don't know what position he's going to play in, right? And would you buy him? Because I don't think I would, because he hasn't really been playing for the whole year. He's been playing golf more than he's been playing football.
Loves a bit of golf. Loves it.
In that order. Which order do you think Spurs will be?
It's got to be written in his contract.
That being said, James Rodriguez hadn't started a league game since last October, and he looked pretty punchy.
He looked all right. He looked okay. Yeah. He looked okay for I think he looked okay. But there's
this
also...
takes us into the review of last week. I mean, what did you guys think of Everton generally?
They look good.
I like the look of them. They've brought in some really key signings which they needed to shore up, and obviously they've they've got a little bit of Ancelotti's philosophy, which is weird because I always remember at Napoli he was always a bit more of a two up top kind of guy. But looking,
you remember at Napoli like you ever watched Serie A.
Like I was there, like I was there yesterday.
He remembers it at Napoli.
Yeah, but he's definitely going for like a 4-2-3-1 or 4-5-1, depending on how you look at it.
See, the thing is as well, because I mean, it could be easy for people who have Richarlison to lose their heads a little bit and get frustrated with him. But he did get. I think Eric and we were discussing this during the game.
I loved it. Yeah,
he did get into the positions. He did get into the right positions. It's just finishing, and we know he can finish.
Definitely be a buy. He could be a buy this season.
He's a bit punty. And he's a good punty buy, to be honest.
He's not badly priced, but the thing is, it's because he's a forward now. Whereas if he was a midi, then I think he'd definitely be worth it.
Yeah.
Those extra 30 or so points he'll get from the cleanies and the extra BPs and the goals and stuff. But
I think I made the point
off him a bit.
I just made the point to Alex, which was basically DCL got the goal, right? Which was a nice goal and all that. But assuming he hadn't and Richarlison had got the goal, everyone would be talking about him and there'd be very little attention with DCL, you know? So things can go different ways very quickly.
But
Richarlison missed a lot, to be honest, but he could have scored. He had quite a few opportunities.
You know the chance when he went round the keeper and then tried shooting it whilst, to be honest, DCL was open. So if he would have just tracked back, passed it back, that could have been 2 goals for DCL, which again would be a very positive thing for DCL. So it's a difficult one. But
I mean, that's the thing between the two of them, because they're now both forwards, and neither of them, as far as I'm aware, are on set pieces. That really, it's that million. I think between the two of them, they're probably going to end up scoring and assisting similar amounts to each other, probably. And so that extra million could be the difference between Phillips and Klitsch.
And okay, so just looking at Arsenal quickly, that was the first game. 3-0 to Arsenal.
He's bringing up Arsenal.
Just coincidence. First game. First game.
So quickly, guys, we can only talk about one. Let's talk about Arsenal.
Wow. Whoever went for the Willian punt, I commend you. Okay, 3 assists on his opening game. I mean, that was fantastic. And not only that, but it wasn't jammy. He played really well. Do we all agree on that?
Yeah,
he was a threat.
And do you think Chelsea are a bit ruining their chances with getting rid of him so early, because they were a bit stale as well in midfield?
Well, I think it was more his decision than theirs, to be honest. I think he'd been like, right, pasture's new.
I agree. So yeah, I think Arsenal. There's a bit of Oba in there. He could have done better, but I think Willian was the takeaway. Although Willian and Pepe, there's a bit of rotation threat there. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, just the fact that it's one of those things that always it makes me cry a little bit inside each time when you got a player, he's already got 3 assists, they're 3-0 up, and they're just like looks like there's more on the table, and then he gets subbed off for 20 minutes to go. You're like, oh. And so I'm just sitting there watching every time Aubameyang got the ball because he's still on the pitch. I'm like, no. Like, you know what I mean? So even if he starts, he's probably going to play like 3/4 of every game, or come on and play like a quarter of every game.
Yeah, same if a player scores a hat trick. They're like, quick, take him off now. Never understood that, you know? Like, you remember when Lewandowski scored 5 goals in 9 minutes or whatever? Imagine if the manager had taken him off. He'd never have achieved that.
What
Liverpool,
about
4-3?
Yeah. I don't know. What do we think?
Salah.
Yeah, I know. And obviously massive points haul. And basically the people at the top of their mini leagues this week are the people that captain Salah. Like that's the differential, right? There's those that captain Salah and those that didn't.
Yeah.
So stroke of luck, as there always is. But I just don't think we should get too carried away because I know he played well and stuff, but it's 2 penos. I mean, he doesn't get those 2 penos.
And a stunning goal, though. Like,
goal of the season as well, but whatever.
That was
but see, that's the problem. And I'm quite frustrated with myself because I was quite stubborn with my own personal team by having Mane. But then again, discussing with Eric and as well just doing some more research about it, Mane does have a tendency to score more away, which they are doing this week. So I'm going to keep Mane to see how he turns out basically this game.
Owning Mane is never a bad
price.
shot.
You're not worried about the price dip?
Yeah, that I'm a little bit worried about. But yeah, I I'm planning to do my wild card next after this week, just to see. I just want to see how the Man U and Man City players really do this week. To be honest with you, but a good game that I enjoyed watching. It was worried and enjoying was Spurs versus Everton. Yeah, which we have discussed Everton, but it was Spurs. But it's Spurs.
Yeah.
But are we worried about Spurs? Because I have Son as well, and I'm kind of worried about him. But I'm just giving him another shot.
It is a bit concerning because they just didn't seem like they were at 100%.
Yeah. So I've already mentioned my bust up in the changing room theory. And as I mentioned to you guys earlier before as well, it's like the whole fixture congestion, old whingy Mourinho's going off already, being like, oh, we can't play this many games, blah, blah. It's almost already setting the stall out like, oh, well, if we lose, it's because of
yeah, exactly. I think, as you said, it influences the players massively because they're already kind of having an excuse now to why not to show up to games. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not motivational at all.
No. Unfortunately. And to be honest, if you just sack off the Carabao Cup, which let's face it is the Mickey Mouse Cup, and concentrate.
Whoa.
Concentrate on the bigger competitions, particularly Europe. You know what I mean? So if they just said, right, it's the C team are playing Leyton Orient on Tuesday. Just if we win, if we don't. Well, like when Liverpool played Villa and played the boys and lost 5-1 or whatever it was. I mean, just write that off. Yeah. And then they've got the same level of fixtures as all of the non-European Premier League teams, the guys that played in the first round of the Carabao Cup. It's the same. It's so Premier League, midweek, Premier League, midweek, Premier League. It's the same. Then you know what I mean? Then you just write off one fixture and then you've got no excuse. But they seem to be, whatever it is, they're not looking too good on the pitch.
Quick one on Brighton and Chelsea. Chelsea, whole new squad. What do you guys reckon?
And Alex?
Well, I personally, I know we're probably supposed to talk about Chelsea itself, but I actually like Lamptey. He impressed me, who is technically ex-Chelsea. So I reckon he'd be quite an interesting punty one if you want a bit of a punt. Lamptey could be an interesting one as well.
He is a good player. Like watching him play, he's clearly got a lot of talent, right?
Yeah, no, he is good. And I like the I feel like the scoreline was a little bit flattering. Like Brighton weren't out of the game. They kind of got the last two were on the counter, and then the Zuma deflection. Like that's just unlucky. It was a closer game than the scoreline reflects. That being said, Chelsea, a lot of new players and a lot of injuries. Weirdly enough, although Reece James played well, Aspil, club captain, not playing. Pulisic out.
That Reece James goal was amazing, by the way.
It was quite incredible. Yeah, it was really, and he played well. But I mean, it's still, Thiago Silva not match fit. So there was a lot missing.
I mean, let's not forget the man of the match, Jorginho.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just the backstory on this is that I think at 5.0 million, Jorginho is a good midfield its own, given that he's on penalties for now, unless Werner takes over. And he got a cheeky assist. I mean, what was that, 12 points for the week or whatever? And it's not bad for a 5.0.
True, but again, I think it's rotation, isn't it?
Isn't he captain, though?
No, Azpilicueta's captain.
But he wasn't playing.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, I think...
He was vice-captain.
Possibly, Jorginho might be a core member of the team this season, and everyone plays around him.
I mean, yes, he played well this week, but it's Jorginho. Like, how well did he do last year? Like 93 points? So,
right, but I mean, we're talking about a 5 million sort of bench player on a team, and also his penalty conversion rate is really high.
No, it's true, but then the only thing with that is, if he's your 5 mil midfielder, you're going to have him on the bench. So that week where he gets his penno and gets his 14 points, you're not going to have him on the team. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless you want to play a 5 mil midfielder and free up funds everywhere else, in which case you're right. He's a solid bet for the season. He'll pop up with the double figures every now and then, and he'll probably play most games.
Yeah, not a fan of his little bounce before the.
That's a Fernandez. That's a Fernandez from a Man U bounce. I like it. Little cheeky little.
I'm not a fan of this. This is a new
trend. Yeah.
Yeah, but because by the time they do that little hop, the goalkeeper's already moved, so they just go to the opposite direction. Allegedly,
it doesn't look very sort of. Yeah, don't know.
Another one with the weird run-up. If you looked at the penalties last night or night before with Sheffield United and Burnley, McBurney for Sheffield United. Every step is like a little hop. It's really weird. It's like It's like Oscar.
This is getting
Pistorius.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Should we just address as well Werner? How did we feel he did? Are we worried about the fact that he's got 75% chance of playing? Dead
A
leg?
little bit.
I quite liked him play. He didn't look as explosive as I was expecting, but he earned that penalty, and that was pretty fair. Like, he was going around the keeper, right? And I think he would have put it away had the keeper not fouled him. So I think he knows what he's doing, and supposedly he should be on penalties going forward. He was on penalties at Leipzig, so I reckon there's a lot more to see from him, and I'm not personally concerned about that 75%, especially against Liverpool. They'll want him playing, right? So
that being said, as a former semi-professional who suffered a dead leg, they are a bugger to shake. Like when you get the hematoma in the thigh, it can be a bit persistent.
Was this when you were doing your trials at Colchester or Norwich? Which one was it again?
This was during my varsity days at UCL.
Oh, okay, just throwing that in there. Does everyone know I went to this university? Okay. Anyway, okay, so moving on to this week then. We thought what we'd do is we would tell you our best team of the week. What we're trying to achieve here is a team that will fit in a 100 mil budget, which would be a potential wildcard team. So it's a reasonable team, and that should give you the best team of the week, hopefully. So I suppose I can kick us off. Goalkeeper and defense, the exciting ones.
Could be. I'd stop you there. If you look at the Kings of the Week, which basically is the budget-free best team of the week, it's 5 defenders this week. So Castagna and Saiss, and so there's a little bit of glory at the back.
It's true, and we do. I mean, this week is no different. We often underestimate defenders, so this is going to be hard to sell. But anyway, we'll do it anyway. So in goals, we've got Pickford. I think that, to be fair, Pickford, he's got West Brom at home. We thought Everton looked pretty good, and Pickford is known to be a good keeper anyway.
Shot stopper.
So I think that's a safe bet. I mean, our alternatives, we're looking at Martinez and Nyland because they both play for Villa. So it's a safe combo, but we settled on Pickford this week. So as a second keeper, we have Nyland. He's the 4.0 budget keeper. And we think that will get us hopefully a clean sheet, maybe a penalty save. Pickford is no stranger to the old penalty save. In defense, we're looking at 3 4.5ers and 2 4.0s, which explains why we haven't necessarily loaded up on defense. But we've got a good reason why. So as part of our 4.5ers, sorry, we've got Rob Holding. He did pretty well for Arsenal. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, he had a good performance. He looked pretty solid. The only thing I'd be concerned about at Arsenal is the Saliba effect. Whether he's being rested, whether he's going to come in. Whether Holding will get the 60 minutes he needs for the cleanie, assuming they get a cleanie at West Ham or against West Ham. But he definitely did play well, and he's definitely earned a starting place.
Yeah. Justin, I don't think Justin needs any sort of explanation. 4.5, played very well, got an assist. I think it could be one for the season. I mean, certainly at the moment. Castagna is also mentioned there, but 1 mil more, it's just expensive. And then our third 4.5er is Jamal Lewis. Woody will be happy to hear. Yeah, he's playing Brighton at home and played very well last week. So we're pretty excited about Lewis. 4.5, I think gives us a decent return. So that leaves us with our 2 4.0 defenders. And so we have Burr, who's a Wolves defender, played very well during the week, playing Man City. So we're starting him on the bench. We're going for a 3-4-3. The team will be up on the website, so you can feel free to check it out there. But we've got Burr in defense, and we've got Struijk, who is a Leeds defender, also 4.0, but looks like he's going to get 90 minutes and playing Fulham at home. So bottom line is we've gone slightly cheap on the defense, but as we said, the defenders last week were the stars. So that's the defense and the keepers. How about the mids?
So in midfield, we have basically we have Fernandes. I think speaks for itself really against Crystal Palace.
Classic.
10.5. I think it's not a bad shout. Let's see how he does, but I'm feeling quite positive about that.
Yeah,
Then
I
we've
think
got
you're right. Like with the whole see how he does, because he had a little bit of a slow end to the season and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think you can't not have him.
Yeah,
this week. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. And then we've got two obvious ones, to be honest. We've got Salah and Aubameyang. Again, big players last week. Aubameyang as well, looking quite on it. He just signed a new contract, so I think he'll be going for it. And it's against West Ham, which looked pretty rough, and even conceded 2 goals to Newcastle of all teams.
But anybody would with that kind of football.
Whoa. Are you trying to set like the proud daddy here?
They were unstoppable.
I just want to throw this out there, controversial opinion. Salah against the big teams doesn't really show up.
Well, away as
right.
well. Apparently, Mane is the one that brings in the goals when it's away.
I mean, that is correct, but I mean, you'd have to be crazy to be the guy that dropped Salah the week after he got a 20-point haul.
I'm not saying you should drop him. I'm just saying that I don't expect much from him this week. God, that is going to be quoted, isn't it? I just think that I'm not getting rid of him by any means, but I'm just saying Salah's not going to get 20 points every week, right? We agree on that. And I think this will be the week where he doesn't, whereas maybe next week he'll be banging them in again.
Yeah, he does. He basically just bullies the little teams, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he does it very well, to be fair.
Yeah.
And then we have Phillips from Leeds, of course, and we have Hendrick as well on the bench. So difficult.
Do you mean the Yorkshire Pirlo?
The old
Yorkshire
who's
this
Pirlo.
Phillips you keep talking about?
Well, it was between him, with regards to funds, unfortunately, it was between him and Klitsch, Phillips and Klitsch. I prefer Klitsch, but we had to settle for Phillips.
I mean, that Yorkshire Pirlo goal was incredible. I mean, the way he took that, I was just thinking if that was me, I would have f***ed it up about 10 times before I would have scored that goal. There were so many opportunities to mess up, and he didn't.
Pooped it up. You would have pooped it up.
Pooped it up.
Yes.
Which goal were you talking about in the cup?
No, I was talking about
the goal he didn't score against Liverpool.
Oh. Okay, we got to take that out. I thought he did.
I mean, it was a great goal.
I'm thinking Harrison. Okay, I got a little bit confused. I thought Harrison was the Yorkshire Pirlo. In fact, it's Phillips. Getting a lot of hate. It's okay.
All right. Anyway,
and then with that, Alex.
And then we have. I'm not going to cut that out, to be honest. I'm just going to cut. I might even include Moby saying, "Please, can we just cut that out, guys? Please cut that out."
just put him up on the cross.
Guy.
Put him up on the cross. Let people judge for themselves.
This is what happens when you're at the top of your mini league. You see, you get.
But you're not. You're not.
I mean, if you don't count your bench boost, Woody, I'm at the top of the league. Let's be honest.
But why wouldn't you count the bench boost?
So Hendrick as well. We've got him on the bench. We had a bit of a toss-up between him and Phillips starting, but we feel that Hendrick is a bit of a reacty purchase on our end. But we'll just keep him on the bench for now, see how he does.
Maybe Newcastle are playing him in a different position now because he wasn't bad last season, but he wasn't great, right? But hopefully this will continue because Newcastle could really use a player that, like him, who's the way he played last week was great. I liked him.
Yeah, I mean he was a right-sided, cutting in from the right for Burnley, but he had a couple of injury issues, and then he was in competition with Goodmanson and then Peters at the end of the season.
Yeah,
and I think because he knew his contract was ending, it's a little bit like the Fraser situation at Bournemouth, where they knew he was on his way out, so it's like, well, let's not keep him in the first team.
Yeah.
So basically, that something about Newcastle there, basically throwing players off their game until they reach the end of their contract, and they can snaffle them up.
Snaffle.
It's weird.
All right, do you want to take it away with the strikers, Woody?
Yeah. So strikers, as I said, we're doing the 3-4-3. So we're loading up the front guns. Start with the big names. Vardy, looked on fire. All our concerns in the previous week's podcast about Leicester having a leaky defence, they seem to have solved it. Ndidi pulling a Fernandinho, dropping back into the defender role, and Castagne obviously nailing it from the start, and Justin having a good game, even though he's playing sort of offside, right-footed left back.
And in some ways, it can only get better because once Madison comes back, Madison and Vardy always pair up well, right?
Yep.
So it's probably
Yeah.
going to improve on what.
Yeah. I mean, Matt has got, what, 10, 15 minutes to the end, and, he looked all right. He wasn't lumbering about and stuff. It didn't affect the game, but, he looked sharp. So, yeah, as you say, and then they've only got more injuries to come back, right? So they're only going to get better. Vardy on penos, and they're playing Burnley, which, although historically, tough defense to break down, but there's, all this Tarkowski rumors that he's going, so he didn't travel for the cup, so he might not start. Ben Mee, I think, still injured, so it might be a long done pairing in the middle, which, there's opportunities there for Vardy to, get it around the back like he does. So that's what he does.
Okay.
He loves just going around the back.
He just got to get around the back. You got to runners in the channels, get around the back. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's number one. Second one, Martial again. Maybe a little bit of a punt because you're not really sure what kind of form he's going to be in and stuff. First game of the season, they haven't played many friendlies as a team. Certainly not as a first team. So there's that. But then, he finished last season in great form. I forget who it was, Lingard or someone put out a tweet that they expect him to get 40 goals this season. And he got 20, he got same as Rashford last year. So there's no worry with the stats, and they're home to Crystal Palace. So it seems a fairly safe bet, if a little punty. It's kind of weird. It's a safe punt.
I like Martial. I think he was really on fire last season. He loves a bonus point. Even if he gets a goal, he's the type of guy who can come back with like 9 points. So I think that's a really, really good shout, Martial.
What I'll say about your little summary there, though, Eric, that was when he was a midi. So you get the extra point for the clean sheet, you get the extra bonus point for the goal, and the extra BPs for scoring.
Agreed. But last season he got 17 goals and 9 assists. Really not bad.
Yeah. No, I agree. He is a good asset. A little pricey at 9 million for my tastes, but no, I think he's a fairly safe bet. And then finishing off the starting 11 is Mr. Bamford. Had a good showing against Liverpool. Get on the score sheet against Liverpool in the first game of the season. That's an achievement in itself. And he's a very good price, although he has gone up to 5.6 now because obviously everybody's getting on the Bamford train, all aboard. And he's playing Fulham, who looked shaky at the back. I don't know off the top of my head exactly how they did against him in the Championship, but I'm pretty sure it was scory.
I mean, one thing's for sure is they'll know each other. They'll know what to expect. And so they won't have the same sort of nerves against, playing against someone like Liverpool or City because they'll, this is kind of the territory they're used to.
Yeah. And one of the most important things, talking about form players again, for strikers is to get on the score sheet, hit the ground running, and he's already done that. So yeah, confidence will be up, and like I say, he's playing his
interesting point about Bamford. Did you know Bamford speaks 4 languages and was offered a scholarship to Harvard?
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, he's a bit of an academic, apparently. Yeah.
There you go. Didn't know that.
Yeah, there you go.
So we need to address the captain, vice captain choice as well.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one.
So like last week.
I'll say.
So like last week, we're just going to discuss basically our choices and see who we think. But maybe this week it might be more straightforward. Who do we think?
Well, I am pretty confident on Aubameyang. I think Aubameyang's been in form. He's been scoring in every game he's played recently, and that includes the Community Shield and the FA Cup final. He is playing West Ham at home, and he's just signed a 3-year new deal, so I think he'll be happy with that. And my other option, which I'm less confident about, is Salah playing Chelsea away. I think they're both good options, to be fair, but I just think Aubameyang tips it for me.
Woody, what do you reckon?
I think it's Oba for the big armband. Did it for all the same reasons Eric just said, but I actually think I'd advise Fernandes. I think I keep Salah away from the armband this week.
I like that. Yeah, not bad.
All right, so that's pretty easy then, because I'm for Obs as well. So I'm down for Aubameyang. Or not Fernandez. Fernandez is still a little bit too punty, isn't it?
Yeah, you're
It
just not
is.
quite sure. Yeah, just a
I'll
little
tell you
bit.
who I like though. If anyone is thinking of doing this, is Martial captain. If anyone needs
Yeah.
a bit of a differential, maybe you're at the bottom of your league.
Yeah, like me.
It's not a. Didn't want to say anything.
Cheers.
Didn't want to say anything. But it's probably not a bad shout because I think Martial will play well this week, and even if Aubameyang plays well as well, I mean, it's probably not a bad shout.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, United assets. I think this week will be a good one. I think I want to hit the ground running.
But Crystal Palace didn't look too shaky. I mean, they were playing Southampton, I believe.
That's a good point. Even with all their injuries, Kouyaté, another one doing a Fernandinho. Yeah, it seems to be a thing. Yeah, in spite of all their injuries at the back, like they were solid, well drilled, classic Hodgson. Yeah, good on the counter. And now they've got Batshuayi and Eze, bit of attacking threat. So don't write off Palace by all means, but
yeah, we never talk about Zaha or anything, but he could have got 2 goals, and he's what, 7 million. No one's talking about Zaha.
How is he still at Palace? That's all I would say. Like, has he got a really bad attitude or something? Does he keep sleeping with people's wives? Like, just nobody wants to sign him.
Is that your definition of a bad attitude?
I mean, that's up there.
I thought it would be someone who's lazy in training, but no.
I go for the nuclear option.
We were thinking what we would do now is if you're in the situation where you don't want to go for sort of a full wild card and you just want to make one transfer, well, who is the most important player to get in this week? And so we thought we'd run through each who we think it is. So Alex, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, I'm lower. I'm in the last position of our little mini league. So I'm and as well, there's a big elephant in the room that we haven't really discussed, which is City. Why we would not go for City, and that's because
very good point. Yeah,
the history. Apparently, Woody was telling us, I think before the call, before this, we started recording the podcast, that they don't have a great history against Wolves. So if I was going to be a bit punty, and because in my head I would need to be differentially, I think I'd consider Sterling. I think Sterling for me could be an interesting one if you want to be punty. And if you want to make a differential difference, because everyone's going to do KDB, as you can imagine, everyone's going to be doing Salah, but not many people are going to be doing Sterling. Now, will he start? Will he not? That's another question. But for me, on my end, that's what I'm considering doing.
I like it.
It's all about your end.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. Just a quick look at the stats. Team selected by Obers 46%, Salah 36%, KDB 30%, Sterling 4.6.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you get him, he is differentially.
Why doesn't he get any love? I mean, he plays really well and he scores a lot. Like, it's strange, right?
I think it was just a rotation last year. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if you remember the season before last. Sterling was my boy, even when he was going through a bad patch. Like, you were like, "Oh, drop him, he's lost it." I was like, "Nah, stick with him," and then he came good at the end. Like, he was my man. He was like his first name on my team sheet. But I didn't think I had him at all last year. I did maybe for a couple of weeks because he just.
And he doesn't play a 90. He doesn't regularly play a full 90. KDB usually does.
Yeah.
So that's the difficulty there. Anyway, who's next?
I mean, yeah, we'll wait and see. Eric?
Right. So it's pretty obvious for me. It is bringing Fernandez. You can downgrade anyone you have. Like if you've got Mane, if you've got, let's say, Aubameyang, you could downgrade him and get Willian and Fernandez in a points hit. But I think Fernandez is the guy to have this week. So it's a bit obvious, but he's on penalties. He assists, he scores, and I think he's a fundamental part of the Manchester United team. So I'm going safe. I'm going Fernandez. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll take a slightly different tack and look at in terms of not just like a wildcard team, but for like the season and cost effectiveness. I'm going to say Bamford is one a signing to make, and not only for this week, but also for the weeks to come. Like, I think he'll be the Pookie of this year. So if you want a nice solid 5.5 or 5.6 now for the season,
I don't know.
He looks sharp.
I don't know, man. I think it's a bit of a reacty one. I feel. I mean, even though we have him in our team, and I think he's a good. for that price, to be fair, he is very, very, very good. Like he's good chance of bringing you some points. But at the same time, the first two, I think he had 2 or 3 chances where he just made the wrong decision. I still think he's a little bit nervous in the Premier League. So maybe in a few game weeks' time, he could be a shout in the sense that he'll feel more acclimatized to it, more comfortable. But the good thing about this week is, I believe, he's been rested, correct, during the week.
Midweek, didn't play at all. I don't think.
So you could be guaranteed of a nice full game with him this weekend against Fulham.
I just checked as well, and in the 2 games last season, he scored in both games against Fulham. So he likes to score against them. So I think for this week, definitely. And I just think if you're making transfers this week with an eye for the season, I think it's a train to get on early, I reckon.
I really think that you need to pay attention to Woody's piece of advice, because the fact that he hasn't mentioned Newcastle player is a big deal. Okay, we were all expecting a Wilson, a Hendrick, but no, it was Bamford. So this is special. It's something to pay attention to.
Very quickly though, because being a Toon fan, what do you think of Wilson's long-term capabilities?
I like him. I agree with Martin Lawrence. I think he'll get double figures for goals and a few assists. I like.
How well did he do against? How well did he do last season for Bournemouth? How many goals did he score?
Oh, look, last season not great. I think he got 8. But it was the season.
Not great, but he's a good player. Like this, What he was about to say.
Do you think
before he was great?
So do you think he's getting now the support he needs at Newcastle?
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth had a lot of issues around the entire style of play, the formation, lots of injuries, things like the Fraser situation. Like they just didn't have a good unity last year. Whereas with the transfers we've made, there's a good feeling up at Newcastle and a solid squad. You know, like they've got with the passing range of John Joe in the middle of the pitch and the work rate of Hayden. You got Jamal Lewis. You know, we've got good players down the flanks. We've got solid, back 4-5 when Dubravka comes back, and we've got attacking options up the wazoo. What I really did like was what Steve Bruce did with Andy Carroll. Like I wasn't expecting that. I don't think anybody was expecting that sort of 2 up front. It's the old classic, like, you know, Duncan Ferguson sort of model. You know, get it up to the big guy and play off him.
Yeah, but Andy Carroll's a poor man's Peter Crouch. You know what I mean? Crouchy, come on, he's the man. He's the man you want up there, not Andy Carroll.
Yeah, but Crouch, he hasn't got the legs on him anymore, has he? So I'd bring him out of retirement. Why not? But
there was rumors he was going back to Spurs out of retirement. Everyone wanted it, but yeah.
I wouldn't mind having Crouchy in there again, to be honest.
Like the last time he was in the season 2 years ago, I had him as my backup striker.
Oh yeah,
didn't play much.
Yeah, he did you well in a couple of games, didn't he? He came on and
he did.
I remember you loved doing that there, getting in the old retired or disappeared players who come back in, i.e. Thierry Henry when he came back for Arsenal.
I mean, guilty, and I got a few points out of it, but you have to, you know. It's an emotional game at the end of the day, right?
But yeah, just going back, just to finish off. So I think Wilson's definitely got a good season ahead of him, and so do the supporting cast. You know, your Almiron, Saint-Maximin, Fraser, Hendrick, even Joe Linton might actually pick his game up.
Yeah,
ambitious, but yeah. Okay, well, anyway, that's the FPL Banter podcast for this week. Wishing everyone good luck for the week. It's going to be a great weekend of football, and I think some Monday night football as well. So we're going to hope to do this every week, get you a team by Thursday or Friday, ideally, depending on the midweek games and so on. And FPLBanter.com is the website. Alex, social media?
It's the usual. So we've got at FPL_Bants for Twitter. And then it's at FPL Banter on both our Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, and share and like it and tell us what we could do better. And otherwise, we'll see you next week.
See you.
Wonderful. Yep.
Thanks,
Ta-ta.
guys. Bye.